Hey up YouTube, what's going on? Amazing here, bringing you the NPA recaps for week 5. Now once again you may notice that Juan's voice is not doing the intro right here. That's because Juan can't make it sadly this week. The sort of family emergency from last week is sort of still ongoing a little bit, so I will just send my best wishes for Juan and hope everything is alright on that front. And I hope you guys do too, of course. But yeah, Juan can't make it, I'm afraid. It's partially my fault and partially that as well, because I couldn't record early in the week because I had to go back to back home and to my parents, to the land without internet. And then we did schedule for Wednesday night, and then sadly he had the family emergency still situation with having to go to hospital for his family. So yeah, best wishes to Juan and his family. I hope everything's alright. Hope it's not too serious. Back to normal hopefully next week again, but Juan did send me his notes. He has had some time at the very least to watch most of the matches, and yeah, I've at least got Juan's notes here so I can sort of fill in any gaps hopefully that I had from my side of things. The way the matches landed up, I always take the left hand side, Juan always takes the right, so I think the way the matches played out, I think I ended up with the sides probably with the more notes anyway, so hopefully Juan hasn't missed out too much by not having, you know, had all the time to watch all the matches from his side. But yeah, first things first, the two people who did not play this week were Duncan, Free State Torracat, and Big Pom Gaming with Rochester Ride-Ons. They had their week off. I don't like calling it a bye because there's no automatic win involved, it's just a week off. And then the first match for the week scheduled was the Chicago Chicago Cubchews and Glatigali versus Iowa HAHvORL and Radioactive. Now, I believe Radioactive is in the process of moving right now and had to take the forfeit on that one because he's already used his backup coach. I'll be honest, I don't understand this rule for only being able to use a backup coach once. Situations like these is why that rule should at least be bent in this kind of situation, I think. But if you're going to take a forfeit against anyone, taking a forfeit against the Mega Metagross Salamence Clefable team, a 3-0 might have been better than the outcome there. I haven't looked at the whole thing. I know Brady obviously has a good one that checks Mega Metagross offensively in the form of GoLurk, but it is slower and then doesn't enjoy the Ice Punch, so we don't know how that would have played out if they had played the match, but avoiding probably one of the scariest teams and taking the forfeit there might actually work out better with it only being a 3-0 for a forfeit rather than a 6-0, where it, you know, which is what it is in other places. So might actually be a tactical advantage there. Who knows? We don't know what the outcome would have been had they played. We get to move on straight on to the Miami Dolphins and Kyle A versus Duke City Doughblaze and Vol Skyler. Now, there's no bones about it, you can see immediately on the screen right here, this was a 6-0, and yep, I kind of hate to say it, slightly deserved, because if you don't bring anything for a crest, then you just kind of, the outcome was kind of deserved, really. Literally brought nothing for crest as far as I could tell. Even just putting Toxic on Slowbro would have been more than nothing because the crest did not have Toxic itself. It was Calm-Mind, Recovery, Moonlight, I guess that is, and then it was Psychic and Moonblast. It had two attacks rather than the sort of the standard one attack and then sort of more crowy kind of setup there. But no, it was 2 attacks with Calm-Mind and Recovery and Moonlight, and yeah, as far as I can tell, nothing on his team had Toxic because he never used it. Physical Stun Tank could have at least done something to it. As far as I can tell, that didn't do anything. I can't really remember exactly what happened, but certainly no knockoff to get rid of the leftovers, no phasing, no hazing, no... I just don't understand why there was nothing brought for a set of crest. So... If Toxic, yeah, like I said, if Slowbro had Toxic, then the Slowbro on Volskyler's side had Calm-Mind as well, and obviously has Recovery and Slack off. If you just put Toxic as a third move and just went one attack, then the Scold probably would have been enough because you could take advantage of the opponent's rain a little bit, and Weavile doesn't get a free switch in on Psyshocks. But again, that would have been slightly more walled by Polytoad, but at the same time, if you've got Carmines up, and Polytoad and Kingdom can't really do much if you've got Carmines up in the first place, and then you can Toxic Stall them out a little bit. So Toxic over Psyshock would have been a much better play on the Slowbro, and that would have allowed you to Toxic Stall the Crest down. Not fun to watch, but at least would allow you to beat the Crest 1-on-1 rather than have to, switch out because you can't do anything to it and it can't do anything. It can't really do anything to you, but it's bulkier than you are somehow because it had already set up Carmines before you had. So yeah, and I don't think actually the Slowbro switched out. It predicted a Psyshock and switched into. Oh no, he switched into Polytoad to get. He switched into Polytoad to get the Toxic off onto the Slowbro, which is what you should have been doing to the Crest, and then switched into WATvADE on the predicted Psyshock. Now, that's another bone of contention. Why in God's name would you click Psyshock when the Polytoad is in and set up the raid? You click Scold in that situation. Polytoad is switched in, that's fine, that's whatever. I know you click Psyshock there, but Polytoad's not staying in. It can do absolutely jack nothing to you. And would die to Psyshocks, and would even, you could get the Scold burn. WATvADE is obviously going to switch back in there, or Crest. You click Scold and try and get the Scold burn on the Crest, since apparently there was no Toxic anywhere. Or the WATvADE switching in to absorb the Psyshock, and guess what happens? WATvADE comes in, absorbs the Psyshock, and now you've got a essentially useless Carmine-minded up Slowbro against a WATvADE because it's a WATvADE and that's physically offensive. Little bit of ballsy play on Kyle's side there, but he got away with it because Slowbro did go for the Psyshock for reasons. I don't know what the reasons were, and I'm not 100% certain. One hasn't answered that question there, sadly, for me. It just says, for this case of the Doublés, just needs to be aware of potential strats opponent might bring. I'm guessing that might be the case of the Doublés not being fully aware that Crest tends to set up. Not sure how, considering Crest is probably one of the most annoying mons in the format and one of the most infamous mons in the format. But it is what it is, and that's what happened. Of course, then there was also the other big thing. I was hoping, I put on my side there, I'm hoping this was a misgen and not just messed up entirely. But Juan's notes makes me a little bit more fearful that it was an actual human error rather than a misgen, which is slightly more worrying if I'm honest. When running Citrus Berry mod, make sure you EV correctly to have the belly drum go to exactly half HP. So you get the Citrus Berry recovery, then you obviously get the Unburden boost in this situation because it's Slur buff. And of course it wasn't EV correctly and ended up with essentially 51%, and the Citrus Berry didn't go off and it just straight up died because it was EV'd incorrectly. I was hoping this was a misgen, which we could obviously once again do the weekly announcement of check your mons, but I from Juan's notes I fear it was actually slightly more human error than someone misgenning. Obviously misgenning is technically a human error, but you know what I mean, sort of more actually planning error. And if these are not gen, if Scarlet doesn't gen his own mons, then I'm slightly more surprised that the Jenner didn't pick up on it as well, because it's obviously if I was genning someone's mons, I would immediately just like I said, are you sure about this? Because you're not going to be getting the Unburden boost here in the Citrus Berry. So please check your mons when you send them to the Jenner, as well as once you get them back from the Jenner, because things like this should not be happening. Especially being week 5 and us, saying this every single week. Check your mons. My only criticism, and I understand why Carl does it. He says it in his video. I appreciate you wanting to shout out your homies, but there was absolutely no need for the way you ended that match. The most safe play was to actually click Hurricane, destroy the Mega Venusaur in front of you right there and then switch into, say, Crest, because Crest can take any hit from the Tauros fairly easily. And with Tauros being obviously scarfed, that would then allow you to switch into something to take it, or if the Crest could finish it. Or if you felt the Crest could sort of finish off the match from there, just use the Crest to finish off the match from there. I understand you wanted to get your Kingdra in, and there was no way you were going to lose the match, but you know could have ensured the 6-0 a little bit more efficiently. You kind of got a bit lucky that he went for the Iron Head and didn't predict the switch and to try and reduce the differential, because that's absolutely 100% what he should have done, instead of trying to kill the Mega Aero, which was obviously going to switch out. Yeah, should have, in my opinion, just on the Mega Venusaur just clicked Hurricane, because the rain was still up at that point, I believe, so that was 100% accurate. You had no chance of missing it. And then switch into Crest when Tauros comes in, because Crest could have, you know, absorbed anything that thing did, frankly. And yeah, and that would have happened that way. I'm not sure what he would have clicked with the Mega Aero, if considering it would be torn in front of him. Probably would have clicked a normal move, and the Crest might have been able to deal with it from there. But kind of got away with it, the fact that way it sort of played out in the end. Still managed to get the 6-0. I understand you wanted to get Kingdra out just so you could say shout out to every single one on your team. But in the end, ironically, Tornadus didn't get a kill because of the fact you switched out and didn't click Hurricane. So 6 to 1, half a dozen the other in the end. There we are. I don't have much more to say about that match, frankly, so we'll move on. And that was a 6-0, and yeah. Colorado Rapidash and Swami versus Tampa Bay Luxrays, coached by Exception. Now, this was a 1-0 for the Exception, and good match, very good match. Very early sort of neutral playstyle, neutral thing. Juan has written here, good move just to go for Surf. Neutral damage, if the Haxorus came in, can follow up with a Dragon Stab. However, opponent went into T-Tar, which was obviously Swami side, for the potential Psychic move, not for Draco. This might be a note. I'm thinking the Luxrays might have been thinking he went into T-Tar to absorb the Draco. No, he's switching to T-Tar for the potential Psychic move. I think that's what Juan's trying to get out there. And, wrong button. So yeah, I'm guessing that was, the Latias was in on against something. I can't remember what the Latias was in against. Can't remember what it was in against, to be honest. Wheezing, maybe. Yeah, probably Wheezing. So he went for the neutral Surf, because that hit everything, either neutral or Haxorus resist, I guess. But like Juan says, can follow up with the Dragon Stab, unless of course it was Scarf Haxorus, which it wasn't. But in case it was Scarf Haxorus, then yeah, Latias could follow up with the Dragon Stab and kill that anyway. So yeah, Surf was the good neutral play there, good play on the Exception side of things. Transform Mew, Juan has put out Transform Mew as great prep. Yeah, it worked out very well in the moment he used it on the Hitmontop. Did get to scale that Hitmontop, found out I did have the Rock move, which is what he was fearing in terms of Rock Rain. Found out I didn't have Rapid Spin as well, which was also very important, because that meant his rocks were a lot safer should he get them up. Took him a very long time to actually get those rocks up. I'm not sure why that took so long, but yeah, eventually got into a position to get those rocks up. But my big issue is that Swami kept saying he could transform on Latias. No, you could not transform on Latias, because especially after he's seen transform on against the Hitmontop, especially after he's seen transform. If you have Latias in and you transform on Latias, it's not imposter. You don't get to do your own attack first. You will die to the Dragon move as soon as you click transform, because you will click transform. That is your move gone. He clicks Dragon move, you die. You might be scarfed. You outspeed the next turn if he messes up and doesn't click the Dragon move. But if he clicks Dragon move, you're dead. Especially if the Latias is already set up, which was your plan. If the Latias is set up, which was your plan here, you wanted to transform into the already set up Latias, he's not going to be clicking a Psychic move against the Mew in the first place. More likely to click Shadow Ball, which would also kill your transform Latias, because it's weak to that as well, if he had Shadow Ball. Or the Dragon move, which would kill the Mew as well, because that's the neutral Dragon move and that kills. So you could not do your plan against Latias. I don't understand your thinking there, because your Choice Scarf Mew, you're not taking the hit if the Latias is set up as you transform. Because yeah, he's going to be clicking Shadow Ball, which, you know, hits the super effective Psychic Latias anyway, and or the Dragon move, which will hit the Latias, which you've just transformed into super effectively. So it wasn't going to work. But where it did work is where you used it. So in a way, the plan worked in a different way to the way that you were expecting it to, and thank God you didn't use it in the way you expected to, because you probably would have died. If, you know, the Exception had any sort of wits about him, he would have just clicked the Shadow Ball or Dragon move, and it would have died. Judging how the match played out, I'm thinking he would have, because, you know, he kind of called a lot of it, predicted you quite well, actually, I will say. The turn that T-Tar survived on the sliver of health actually probably would have benefited from T-Tar going down there, because that would have given you an extra turn of sand for Extra to abuse. Other than that, Outrage versus Hitmontop was definitely a mistake. EQ versus the Earthquake or Dragonclaw, if you had it, was the play, because obviously then you could switch into Diancie for free, and that's what happened. Haxorus does get Iron Head, let's not forget, I think. Oh no, Haxorus doesn't get Iron Head. That's one of my big qualms with Haxorus, the fact it doesn't get Iron Head despite having axes on its face. But it does get Iron Tail, which obviously would hit Diancie 4 times. That's fine. Yeah, EQing the Diancie in that situation, considering your moveset was clicking EQ for the obvious Diancie switching would have been a little bit more helpful. Hitmontop was obviously going to switch out. And that would have popped the Shukaberry on the Diancie earlier, which allowed obviously things like Extra Drill later on to deal with it a lot easier, potentially. Why there was no Iron Head on Extra Drill though, I have no idea. Because when your opponent has Diancie, you kind of want to pack something with a steel move. Because Diancie's, fairly bulky and doesn't really... It can sort of take the Earthquake fairly well, and he has a Lalias. So if you're Sand Rush Extra Drill, then he has the Lalias switch in essentially for free. If you don't have Iron Head, which, is what happened. If you'd had Iron Head, that Lalias would have died on the switch in, which I think is what he was probably doing. There's no notes on here about that, but yeah, if the Lalias had switched in on an Iron Head, it would have died. So I'm guessing he was trying to sack it there, but either sacking it is potentially one of the more least useful things, considering how weak it was at that point already, or maybe getting a free switch in if you clicked Earthquake and didn't have Iron Head, which is what you didn't, which is what you had. I felt Rock Slide might have been slightly redundant. Obviously there was an opponent Araquanid, but I feel like Exorcism might have been the slightly redundant move there. I know you kind of want to hit the Lalias, but you had enough things for Lalias, frankly, to be honest. So I don't think Extra needed the coverage there. It probably would have been better off just having the Iron Head over the. Unless also bear in mind, the only thing that resists the Iron Head on the team that he brought was Araquanid. Porygon's League neutral, Diancie 4 times, Lalias 2 times, Desperon neutral, and Hitmontop neutral. Hitmontop resists the Rock, of course, as well. So things like that. Iron Head was absolutely 100%. And Diancie, no, Rock doesn't resist itself, does it? That's one of the more stupid things I seem to remember. But yeah, Diancie, Iron Head for the Diancie. There was a roll. Obviously at the end. At the end, it kind of came down to a roll. Got the middest of mid rolls from what I remember, and Diancie lives, and essentially, oh no, I can't remember exactly what it was. What was the problem with the rolls? I think it was something to do with Volcarona, but I can't remember exactly what the roll problem was. But there was a roll that the Luxrays lived, and essentially, if it was any more than a mid roll, the Luxray's Mons would have died. Luxray's Mon would have died, and then the Rapidash would have pulled the win. I think, I'm not 100% certain of that. But Hitmontop, I know Hitmontop finished off the match because it had 2 kills, no deaths. So other than that, I didn't make a note of why there was no Iron Head on Haxorus, forgetting there is no Iron Head on Haxorus. Full stop. But yeah. That's basically what happened there. There was definitely a lot of... Oh, and yeah, you were wondering what the hidden power was. That I forgot which Mon used it. Diancie, I'm guessing. You're wondering what the hidden power was in that situation. It is obviously hidden power fighting. You have a Tyranitar. So yeah, I don't know why you were wondering if it was HP Fire at one point. HP Ice was also on the radar. Not sure why. HP Ground would have made, wondering if it was HP Ground was slightly more realistic, I guess, but no, it was HP Fighting. I realised that straight away. Not sure. In the heat of the battle, a little bit of confusion, I guess. That's probably about it. But anyway, we get to move on now. Juan's got a couple more notes here. For the Luxray side of things, it says note the items. There are a lot, but Rosalie is an important one. I don't know what this is referencing. I'm guessing maybe a little bit sure that he could kill the Haxorus or something like that. I'm guessing this was Diancie versus Haxorus, not realising that Haxorus could potentially have a Rosary Berry and survive, something like that. I'm guessing that's what Juan's getting at here. Also, Liquidation is a physical move. Wheezing is usually Phys Def. Juan says Scald is a better option. I do agree with him there, of course, as well. The only issue is obviously that if you build your Araquanid up more physical, then it can sort of cancel that physical Scald. And obviously Scald can burn, of course, which helps take down Wheezing a little bit more. So yeah, I see what Juan's getting at there. Scalding the Wheezing would make more sense than Liquidation in that situation. But yeah, we get to move on now to the next match, which is the Waterloo Swords books with Old School Sin versus Adelaide Umbreons and Cress and Crystal Key. Juan, I'm guessing Juan's really sad he can't actually be here for this one particularly, because I know Juan is a big supporter of Cress, and glad to see her finally pick up that win, to be honest. So I will say thank you and congratulations to Cress on behalf of Juan here, because I know he roots for Cress. Yeah, 2-0 for the Umbreons, and it was very, very scary at the end when you almost threw it away. But I don't think you could. I don't think there was any way you could like completely throw it away. But there should have been a 4-0. It should have definitely been a 4-0. There was basically one switch out towards the end. Threw it from a 4-0 to a 2-0, I think. And yeah, don't do that to us, Cress. But yeah, first things first, I want to make note of a comment that was made by Sin before the match even started, and that was complaining about RNG messing with you last match. RNG played no part in you losing last week. COLvTBL did. COLvTBL set up. Second that COLvTBL set up, you had no way of winning. There was no RNG problems in that match at all. Yes, you missed 2 Dracos, but they didn't matter. You were subbing on those Dracos. You would have not. You would still had a sub by the time that the High Dragon went down. RNG did not mess you last week. COLvTBL did. The week before, I believe there was a crit on the Melodic, which helped, you know, break your team. But which, you know, I would accept that. But last week, you did not lose to RNG. You lost to COLvTBL. Moving on. Right. Not bad, but fairly obvious plays, which I said last week. You need to switch up your plays a little bit, Sin. You make the obvious play pretty much every single time. And you kind of need to mix up the predictability a little bit. I put a note here saying, I love that Celesteela in this match is called Huzzah. I have no idea why it's called Huzzah, but I love the fact it's called Huzzah. Ooh, I got a little bit sarcastic here, I'm sorry. But ooh, Chandelier switching on Celesteela, what a surprise. Not sure why I was a little bit surprised that Celesteela was packing Leech Seed. That's one of the things it's more known for. And I've put a note here. This is before anything else happened. This was the first piece of hacks in the match. So I put, okay, Sin, if you get any hacks in the rest of this match, you cannot complain about them because you've just got a 10% burn on HAHvORL. I was actually a little bit surprised that Crest didn't run Sap Sip at HAHvORL, to be honest, because of Tapu Bulu, because that basically was Tapu Bulu a little bit. So yeah, obviously, I put obvious EQ is obvious. I'm not sure what that was on against. Oh yeah, that was Celesteela. That was Celesteela versus, because it was obvious that you were going to switch in Chandelier there against the Celesteela again, because every time Celesteela came in, you switched in Chandelier, so it was obvious that this Chandelier was going to come in there. Or Magnezone, because obviously Magnezone could Magnet Pull and trap it there. Either way, Earthquake was the most obvious play for that, and not what a surprise, it went for Earthquake. So yeah, that wasn't surprising. Switch up your players. Yeah, mentioned that again. Sorry, Sid. Yeah. Kind of confused about how little damage Superpower did against Celesteela. It's a Celesteela against a team with a Tapu Bulu. It's going to be Phys Def Celesteela because that's what walls Tapu Bulu. Superpower is neutral, is not super effective or anything like that, so Superpower isn't going to be doing a great deal. There shouldn't be any surprise about how little damage that actually did. Being a little bit surprised that Hitmonchan was taking the HP Ices. Hitmonchan has very good Spadef. I don't know if you're aware of that, but Hitmonchan has very good Spadef. Shouldn't be that surprising that Hitmonchan is actually surviving those especially offensive hits. Oh yeah, the hacks continue. Again, that was reference to being hacked out a lot. Nope, as far as I can tell, in your season so far, the crit versus Melodic is probably the only one that really matters in the course of your season. Cress finally gets up rocks. Chandelure is officially dead at that point because well, Claydol's the only thing that can get rid of that, and Cress's whole team deals with Claydol pretty much. Oh yeah, when you killed the HAHvORL, that was a crit flash cannon. I don't think you noticed that in your live com there, but you did actually get a crit flash cannon. I didn't calc it, but I think HAHvORL might have survived if you didn't get the crit there. So yeah, that was more hacks in your favour, which you actually didn't notice there, Sin. And then there's, oh god, and then I get to Cress's Cress's more differential choke. I don't think there was any way that Cress could lose at this point because it was essentially a 4-0 in the back there. But Cress, what you're doing, I think the Magnezone had literally 5 health at this point. And Flygon went for the ground move. Flygon went for the ground move when the mon in front of it, which was Magnezone, had 5 health left. But yeah, that's fine. But at this point, bear in mind that Chandelure still dies to rocks. And I think there was still a slight Hydreigon left. I can't remember, there might have been 3-0 at that point. I think we might have only had 3 months left at that point. But there was still a Claydol, which has Levitate. I'm not sure if... No. Juan hasn't put any messages on here, so I'm not sure. I'm surprised he hasn't put any notes here for Cress's side of things. But you just click U-turn or Dragon Move right there because it has 5 health. The mon in front of you has 5 health. It dies. If Claydol switches in, you either U-turn out on that, which does super effective damage. I'm not sure if a ground resist bug. It's all around. Yeah, bug resist ground. So yeah, that would have done super effective damage, the U-turn, and then you get to go into something that deals with. Well, then you just get to go into Gengar, frankly, and that can just shadow ball the 3 remaining things that exist. And actually, because it won't be able to rapid sprint away the rocks, you get the Chandelure switch in. So yeah, basically, when it came to Magnezone versus Flygon with Magnezone with 5 health, you click U-turn there. That hits either kills the Magnezone, then he has to go into Claydol anyway, or he switches into Claydol predicting the ground move. You get super effective damage, you turn off on that Claydol, and you get to go into Gengar. Either way, you get to go into Gengar, click Shadow Ball, and 2 things die. Basically. Either Flygon kills the Magnezone, and then you just Chandelure dies to switch in, and Claydol dies to Gengar, or you U-turn out, and he switches into Claydol, and then Gengar kills the other 2, and Chandelure dies to rocks and switch in. Either way, should have been a 4-0 there, but as what happened, Claydol comes in, and gets a kill and rapid spins away the rocks, and I think Chandelure or Magnezone gets another kill or something, and it ends up being a 2-0. I can't exactly remember what happened. Oh yeah, that was it. Magnezone kills the Cradilly with Flash Cannon, and the Claydol kills something. I can't remember what it was that it killed, but there was no reason that Claydol should have got a kill there, and Magnezone should have only had 2. It should have been a 4-0. Cress. But, you know, the 2-0 was in the bag regardless, because as soon as you got into Gengar, the game was over, regardless of what happened. So, yeah. Never mind. Still got the win, though. That's all that matters. We get to move on here. Only addition here is... and yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Juan has a good job predicting HP Ice on his predictions of Flygon and going into... going to the Hitmonchan, predicting the HP Ices. Yeah, that's fairly good. It's fairly that's a good point as well. And for Cress's side of things, and is Raikou here because of the freeze on Tapu Boo? That was the big hacks that obviously Sin was complaining about. But yeah, you got the 10% burn on HAHvORL, which completely neutered HAHvORL, so you can't really complain about that, frankly. We get to move on, and Philadelphia Braveries. Chris Cobain versus Pittsburgh Pichus and Nexus. Now, I am going to say that this is a 3-0 for the Braveries. I know Juan has notes for this match here. I'm just going to see what he says about that first. Straightforward, good gameplay from both sides. I do agree with that. Nexus understands how his performance in this game was. Not going to bring him down. So it sounds like Nexus was aware that he wasn't playing potentially to his best, or 100% agree with him about the Entei play. Always follow gut reactions, especially in the beginning of the game. Now, obviously, I don't know what commentary this is referring to as such, because I haven't seen Nexus' side of things. Obviously, that's under Juan's control. But yeah, whatever that is for Nexus, Juan says 100% agree with you about the Entei. But yeah, as soon as, for the berry side of things, as soon as you see Quagsire does not have leftovers, the Rindo alarm should be blaring in your head. And surprise, surprise, grass move. Oh look, Rindo berry. But yeah, I expected it to do more than that. It's a grass type versus Primarina. That's where you count to see if you die or not. Basically, I can't remember what that situation was, to be honest. Tangrowth. What was it? Yeah, Tangrowth. Tangrowth for the Primarina. He goes for Ice Beam. Doesn't do a great deal. And obviously Tangrowth can Giga Drain it and basically do a butt ton of damage back to Primarina. Yeah, you definitely should have calced there. I know Chris does calc and does do calking, but that was the one turn you definitely should have been calking, because seeing how much your Ice Beam did and seeing how much Tangrowth did to Primarina was very crucial. You got away with it because you won the match in the end. Yeah, you have a dog trio. Nexus isn't dumb enough not to be Shuka or Shed Shell. I was half expecting it to be Shuka Berry because I felt Shed Shell might have been a little bit too obvious for Entei. I was half expecting it to be Shuka Berry to try and catch the dog trio out with 2 E-speeds. Or you could just do like Sacred Fire on the first one and then E-speed. Once the sash had obviously been activated, then you could E-speed to finish it off. I was expecting him to be Shuka Berry, actually, to be honest, to predict that. But no, he was just Shed Shell. Chris, you shouldn't be surprised he was Shed Shell, to be honest, because Entei was a massive win con there, and Dugtrio trapping it and killing it would have been a massive problem. So yeah, Shed Shell was fairly obvious, and yeah, I was a little bit harsher on Nexus here on the Entei switch in than presumably what Juan is referring to here, is that when he switched in Entei on the move that killed the Entei. So yeah, don't sack the 1-1 that's been putting on all the pressure so far, because let's face it, Entei was the big pressurizer in this match up until that point. So yeah, and Chris was also confused why he switched Entei in there, and was very, very happy that he managed to kill the 1-1 that was putting all the pressure against his team. Basically for free. I noticed the lack of the hesitancy to bring in Lele at any point, which to me, and Chris picked up on this, indicated that it wasn't scarfed. Now, that would have been a fantastic bluff if just holding Lele in the back and Lele being scarfed, and you weren't bringing it in. That would have been great bluff at the end there, saying, "Oh, surprise! It is actually scarfed," and then somehow winning from there. I don't know if there was any move that kind of killed the remaining ones. Dugtrio was still on the field. Dugtrio still existed with a sash, so I don't think you could win there anyway. But even if it was Scarf Lele or a setup Lele, but yeah, you can't believe an Azelf doesn't survive a knockoff when you have 40 health left. Oh yeah, Azelf had 40 health left, and Chris was a little bit surprised that Tangrowth still killed it with a knockoff. Even through Colberberry. Yeah, it does minimum 49 damage if Azelf is uninvested. You have 40 health left. So unless you have defense investment, which I was very much doubting, it does minimum 49 damage. You were dying there regardless. It wasn't even a high roll or anything. Colberberry doesn't help Azelf that much because Azelf is frail as heck. Yeah, that was ones on. Mentioned all ones on no save. Kind of a good match altogether. The Entei switch in basically is what turned that match and sealed it for the Braveries at that point. So yeah, 3-0 for the Braveries. Get to move on very quickly there. Hampshire Haunters, or Hampshire Haunters as we should say in Britain here. Goffrey's Enigma versus the Orlando Magikarps. This is a 2-0 win for the Magikarps. And this is where we get to say the weekly notice again of check your mons. Can't remember what this is in reference to though, to be honest. There was a problem, and yeah, check your mons. Can't remember why you had to check your mons, but for some reason, check your mons. Yeah. I put arbitrarily rule number 15 of League format, don't let your wish passes go down first, because wish passing is always useful. If you can get a wish off later on, that can help save one of the other mons. Yeah, don't let Rarities go down first, basically, because then that means the rest of your team has no reliable recovery at all, unless you have sort of Rain Dance, Rest, Manaphy. None of your other mons basically have recovery. Molga might get Roost, but other than that, it's still a Lamolga, and as we saw in the match, Molga got 2-shot by bloody Mandibuzz. So yeah, apologies, but Molga is basically useless. There are, and I have checked, there are better options than a Mulga if you still want an electric type that you might want to pick up. There are still better options available. Even in Tier 5, there are still better options than a Mulga, in my opinion. So I understand that it did do the baton pass thingy there potentially, so you did have the potential for, I think it's agility baton pass or something like that. But yeah. Why would he? Why would he bring his Skeptile in first? Obviously, Aero would come in first to break the sub. Sub on Manaphy, yes, that was it. Yeah, there was a little bit surprising for an Aerodactyl in first rather than a Skeptile. Aerodactyl has speed and definitely breaks your sub. Then obviously Skeptile can come in after that and then kill you. Skeptile was obviously not going to come in first because you still had the sub up at that point. So yeah, that wasn't going to happen. Also, fun fact, Durant was his Psyshock. Oh yeah, I was basically saying Durant could switch on a Mega Bro at that point because Mega Bro was doing things at that point, and it wasn't going to be going for a Scold in the situation it was in, so you could have switched in Durant for free there. Would have taken a little bit of damage in fairness, because obviously Durant is fairly weak, but he does have good defense, which Psyshock would hit. So yeah, it would have taken a bit of damage, but Durant basically could have got a free switch there and thrown the Mega Bro out, because it is obviously super effective against Mega Bro with its bug moves. The first the first hidden power does 73 damage to your Mon. Why did you even think you survive another when you only have 60 HP left? Only way it does. Oh yeah, you had no chance. I calced it. Oh yeah, and I calced it afterwards. I can't remember what was using the hidden powers at that point. It might have been the Gardevoir against Delmise. Is it Gardevoir against Delmise or Dragonite against Delmise? Anyway, yeah, the first one did 73 damage. You only have 60 HP left. I calced it, and the only spread in which 73 damage is the maximum roll you can get. The lowest roll is 60. So no matter what happened there, as soon as you got the 73, even if that was the maximum roll, then the relative investment, that meant that 60 was the minus roll there, so you were dying no matter what happens there. Also, for the second match this week, why are you using a move which isn't Steel against a Fairy type? Basically, I know why SEAvMIN didn't do it earlier, because he didn't have it. But why X-Scissor a Gardevoir? It's weak to Steel. It lived because you used X-Scissor instead of a Steel move. That's why it lived, and actually, let's face it, Mega Bro is the only thing that switches in on a Steel move, and it dies to X-Scissors anyway, so there were no switch-ins. There was definitely no switch into the Iron Head either, if you had Iron Head. Also, you have the flinch chance, of course. So yeah, I think the only two mons left at the end were Gardevoir and Dragonite, so I don't know why you were X-Scissors anyway, because Dragonite resists that. So Iron Head was 100% your play. I think it goes Iron Head Durant. So yeah, Iron Head would have killed Gardevoir and might have killed Dragonite actually. So I think you could have potentially won that with Durant at the end. But yeah, see if this. Yeah, Juan has watched this match. For the Magikarps, a little bit of note from Juan here. Needs to research the mons before battle. Would have known what Aromaveil did. Yes, I forgot to write that down. Yeah, he taunted Aromatisse. That doesn't work, my friend. Good idea to set up on Aromatisse. Not good to stay in on Delmise. He's just got Volcanion question mark. Don't know what that's referencing. SoCal Mine Tailblow in Rain. Here we go. Why taunt when you can go for kill / do massive damage? You have speed, you do damage, can't sub up / wasted tail go. Not sure what that's about. If I'm honest. Only has Moonblast to hit Durant question mark Hustle OP. Oh yeah, because he missed obviously the Hustle move anyway. But yeah, Iron Head was your play there instead of your X-Scissor, because I think you hit one X-Scissor, did a bit of damage, and you missed the second one. If you hit the second X-Scissor, I think you were still losing because Dragonite was still alive and would have died to the X-Scissor with it. He would have survived the X-Scissor. But I think that's how it was. I can't quite remember how the end play was. I think Dragonite and Gardevoir were the only things still left alive at the end. So Iron Head was your play there, my friend, not X-Scissor. And yeah, we get to move on from that one. We have Munchlaxter United, King Bub versus Luster City and T-Train. And this was a 5-0 for T-Train. And essentially a 5-0 for Manectric. One's notes here say no bad plays overall, straightforward game, nice Magearna set, praise be Manectric sweep. I'm not 100% what the beginner set was, actually, if I'm honest. I can't quite remember it. But Juan is praising you for it, so there you go. If you know you're weak to electric, why would you not bring Celebi is my question here, Bub. What you doing, Bub? Why did you not Roost / Whirlwind on the beginner? Ah, yeah. I remember that. I should have put a little bit more notes here, but I'm trying to remember. It was basically a switch fest between Golbat and Stunfisk on the beginner. It was good plays in terms of scouting for the Twinkle Tackle, which did happen, of course. You switching in Stunfisk on the Thunderbolt, great. Switching back Golbat in on the Z Twinkle Tackle, basically the Z move, Fairy move. Good play there, but why was there no? Well, you could have definitely survived. I think you could have survived another Thunderbolt at that point. You were slower than that at that point, I think, because of the shift gear, but I think you could Whirlwind away at that point still. I don't know why you didn't do that instead of switching back into, because as it was, you then had to switch back into Stunfisk, and that happened as it sort of happened. You know, Stunfisk took damage, and Stunfisk was the only thing stopping Manectric. You should have protected Stunfisk at all costs, even if it was the case of switching in, say, Avalugg, sacking off the Avalugg, and then bringing in Stunfisk to kill the beginner. So from full, then you'd been at least full health with Stunfisk, and you wouldn't have taken any damage. Well, you would have taken the damage from beginner outspeeding you, but that would have been the only damage you had. You wouldn't have been in the red, and you could have still taken on Manectric a little bit better. Because frankly, Avalugg was doing absolutely nothing in this match. Because all Avalugg was going to do in this matchup was basically be a free switch in for beginner. So I'm not sure one that was brought. Greninja would have been a better pick bring here, especially because Espeon exists and it outspeeds Manectric, I believe. Not sure if it outspeeds Manectric, but yeah, I think Greninja would have been a better bring here over Avalugg or even Suicune, because Suicune wasn't doing a great deal here. Does kind of vaguely take on Donphan a little bit quite well, and obviously takes on Gyarados fairly well as well. But can't really do much back to Gyarados outside of HP Electric, I guess. And yeah, that's about it. My only question is, if you identify the Manectric could sweep through you, why would you not bring more from Manectric? Because you only have Stunfisk. The only explanation is that you were only aware that Manectric was going to sweep through once you actually started the match. But other than that, there's no notes really for T-Train for one side of things, so this gets to be a fairly quick recap match. Yeah. I think the only thing I can say for Bob is get better electric immunity, frankly, because Stunfisk, as much as we like to laugh about Stunfisk being a god, it is not that good. And Celebi being your only other electric resist isn't great either, because it doesn't enjoy the U-turn, which a fair few Volt Switches do get as well. And things like Manectric obviously get fire moves as well, so Celebi isn't the greatest electric switching either, but it would have been a better bring than, say, Avalugg here. But other than that, we just get to move straight on to the Los Angeles Lamberus and Jerry versus Maryland Torterrapins, not coached by Kelly this week because he chose to bring his backup coach. And I say backup coach here with a fair amount of air quotes because I'm not sure if the NPA are aware of Gypsy King. Because Jerry certainly wasn't, and he got a very rude introduction to Gypsy King. Both me and Juan, because as soon as Jerry said that Kelly's backup coach was Gypsy King, my first line of notes is, first off, Kelly uses Gypsy as a backup. Oh God, was my notes. Because, and Juan's first line of notes is, it's not fair, why did you get Gypsy? Jesus, Kelly. If viewers of this recap and the NPA in general are not aware of Gypsy King is probably one of the top, if not the top, certainly top 2 or 3 league battlers in the entire format. One of the best battlers in the entire league format. His win-loss ratio in league format is absurd. I know he had a slightly rough, well, he definitely had a rough season in the last season of the TBU, I think it is he's in. It is his main one. I think he had more losses in that one season than he's had in the previous 3 or 4. I think Gypsy's only had like 2 or 3 losses in the entirety of 3 or 4 seasons of the previous seasons of the league he's in. Yeah, he has not lost many matches in league format at all. It's still, I'm fairly certain you can still count the number of losses he's had in league format on both hands at the very least. And he has taken part in a fair few leagues at this point. So yeah, very not fair bringing Gypsy to definitely not obviously Jerry was had a very good start to the season, had a little bit of wobble the past couple of weeks in terms of playing, but so even Jerry being one of probably the better being a fairly good battler, pretty good battler. I very much feared for his safety the second he announced that Gypsy King was the backup. I got a little bit confused by Jerry's commentary early on, saying Coco and Starmie are your only super effective against Zard X. Found that later on that Coco was carrying HP ground. Starmie has no super effective moves naturally outside of, again, hidden powers. But you have a Gliscor and an Aggron. They have super effective moves for Zard X. I'm not sure what your commentary there was. Coco and Starmie were definitely not your only super effective moves for Zard X. Gliscor and Aggron are stab super effective against Zard X with their ground and rock moves respectively. You're facing Zard X and you don't bring a defensive Gliscor. I didn't do the calc, but the damage it was doing seemed like it was too much for either I'm underestimating the power of Zard X. I know it is very powerful, but Gliscor is a very defensive mon, and if you're facing a Zard X, you need all the defense against that you can get, and Gliscor is a very good point on that. So, yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, why Gliscor was taking that much damage from Zard X. I don't think a defensive one should have been taking that much from the Zard X, so I'm guessing it wasn't physically defensive Gliscor, which it definitely 100% should have been. Also, you said Gliscor was your Mashana check. Now, I understand with obviously Toxic Heal, you might be able to stall it out. But why was that your Mashana check? You have Yuxi, that kind of does fairly good things for it. That can just stall Toxic a little bit. Not necessarily Toxic stall it out, but Gliscor should not be your Mashana check. It should be your Zard X check. I'm guessing that's why it was especially defensive as well. Jerry mentions at one point, if Charizard is so good, I asked the question, why didn't you really bring anything for it then? Questioning, how does that not kill? Maybe run the calc was my suggestion there. Not sure what this was. I should have written down what this was against, but very surprised something doesn't. Very surprised at the move not killing. And I remember that turn, he didn't calc. So yeah, definitely should have done the calc to find out if certain moves kill. Always do the calc if you're not certain something's going to kill. Basically, Jerry was a little bit down towards the end of this match. Also asking, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Not really doing anything wrong as such. You just fought one of the best players in the league format, and it was kind of unfair that he was the backup coach. Because I don't really. And this is no slight to anyone in the NPA, but Gypsy is in a completely different level to pretty much anyone in this league. So, like he's on the next level of pretty much anyone in league format. So it's absolutely no. You should not feel bad losing to Gypsy King, basically. Plan worked out. One's notes for Gypsy, as if he even needs notes. But good on taking out both the defensive wall and the electric mooney early in game with Zard X. Min-maxing EVs. I'm guessing that was some good spread work there. Pressure with hazards. Jerry keeps on falling for the Persian Swiss. Yeah, that was so unfortunate. It was kind of like. It kind of reminded me of actually last week with Duncan and Kelly, where every time Kelly wanted to use a sort of statusy kind of move, Duncan was switching Zatu on the exact turns he was using the moves that get magic bounce backs. Kind of works the other way around here for the Torterra pins, that every time Jerry actually went for the Psyche move, Persian switched in. Plan worked out was a parting shot. Yes, it did. Gypsy has complete control. And shame about Zard X, but Gypsy is aware of his win con. Yeah. because what happened, I just need to get the kills out, but eventually Neither Queen got 2 kills and the other one, Helios, got 3. So yeah, Helios also taken advantage of Tapu Koko's electric terrain a little bit as well, from what I remember. Yeah, also Fur Coat Persian as well. Absolutely tanking the Aggron's Continental Crush from a Z head smash Continental Crush. Persian absolutely tanking that, which was fun to watch. But I don't have anything to say to Jerry other than that. You weren't really doing much wrong. You just played one of the best guys in the entire format. So I don't really have any notes for you. If you kind of play that way against, like, you'll be fine, Jerry. You'll be fine. You've proven you're good. You've proven you're a good battler. You had a bad couple of weeks and then you fought Gypsy. So I would just completely discount this week from your entire memory, because this loss, I don't think you really could have done much about it, because Gypsy is Gypsy. So yeah, moving on. New Orleans Pelipers, coached by John, aka Pokemon, I did that the wrong way around, versus Seattle Staraptors, coached by Gearhart. This was a 2-0 for Gearhart. Started with Holy Crit Batman, and I think this is where one's notes actually run out. I don't think he actually had time to watch any more before he had to rush off to the hospital. Yeah, he doesn't have more notes, I'm afraid. So, all me now. I think there's only 3 more matches anyway, so not too much to do. Holy Crit Batman. Trying to remember what the crit was on. Oh yeah, that was the crit at the end. I actually got really absorbed by this match, and I don't think I actually made any notes as such in terms of any bad plays. This match basically all dialed down to getting a crit towards the end of the match. Bringing no ground resist to a matchup against Mammothine was definitely an interesting and ultimately deadly plan from John. I'm not sure what John's plan was here, because he brought absolutely no switchings to Earthquake. Which, you know, I did check, he does have a couple. One is Noivern, which obviously just straight up dies to the ice side of things. And the other one was a Levitate bomb, but I can't remember exactly what it is. I know it doesn't match up particularly well. I can just quickly check, actually, if my computer loads up fast enough. Oh no, Decidueye Resist. Decidueye Resist, that's it. Has no other immunities, no. Sandslash could do. Sandslash could probably take Earthquakes fairly well as well. Quite physically defensive. But yeah, Decidueye would have been a fairly good bring as well, I think, here. I was actually a little bit surprised Decidueye didn't turn up. But I can sort of see why, considering Mega Sharpedo is super effective and I think outspeeds Serena fairly walls it. Obviously Brave Bird there. Brave Bird again, a Selgor, I guess. Marowak, Shadow Ball, I guess. But Marowak is slower than Decidueye, so could have matched up against that. And Sylveon, can't really do much to Sylveon either. So I can sort of see why he didn't bring Decidueye, but at the same time, would have been at least a ground resist. And would have at least given Gearhart a momentary thought before he clicks Earthquake. Same with Noivern. But yeah, possibly could argue that Finny might have forced out Mara with the Reuniclus still being in the back, but we'll never know. There's nothing really to say about this match other than that it was cruelly decided by hacks. Oh, and always Aquajet in the situation when you can Aquajet. I think it was Quillfish. Quillfish did not Aquajet against the faster Maraswine. Just click Aquajet, mate. Always click it. I don't know if it mattered at all, because I don't think Maraswine took any damage after that point because of the crit. But it would have put you in a slightly better situation and would have at least made him think twice about maybe going for the attack against Tapu Fini, because he might have been able to survive one from full. And then, but if you'd done the Aquajet, you might have actually had to think twice before he attacked whatever came in, because whatever came in probably would have been able to tank one Earthquake, if not for a crit, and kill the Maraswine. So yeah, always Aquajet that situation. Not really much more I can say about that match. We get to move straight on from once again, 2 weeks in a row, we get to move on from one Seattle to the other. The Seattle Sea Kings Jodor versus Minnesota Vikavols, coached by Dan aka Drive. And yeah, but hey Jodor, we actually thank you for post-coming. Oh well, I do anyway. Yup. Joe mentioned his own silliness staying in on that Scald. Should not have stayed in. Oh, 4-0 to Vikavols, by the way. I'm guessing that Dan was predicting the Lando switch-in, not the Rotom switch-in, as Sludge does plenty to Rotom anyway. Because I think it was Dragouge versus Togekiss, and Jodo was lamenting the fact that he kind of had a gut feeling that he might over-predict and go for the Dragon move, the Draco Meteor. Dragouge did go for the Draco Meteor against the Togekiss, which is incredibly ballsy on Dan's part. But Jodo said he did have a gut feeling he might do that. And switched in Rotom, I think. And Joe was like, oh, he predicted the Rotom switch, went for the Dragon move. Sludge Wave does a fair amount. Sludge Wave would have done plenty enough to roam anyway, I think. So it was actually the Landorus, I think, that I don't have one to back me on this, but I'm guessing he was actually predicting that Landorus switching because Sludge Wave is resisted then, or indeed Mega Sableye because that resists it as well. So Draco would have hit either of those harder, which I'm guessing what he was predicting to come in there. And I think it would have 2-KO'd Landorus, but Landorus would have forced Dragouge out, so I think that's probably what he was predicting. Don't really have much to say about this match. Only real mistake I would say is not getting the momentum and doubling into Metagross after Sableye, because as soon as you brought in Sableye, Dan is bringing in Ninetales 100%. There's no way in hell he's not bringing in Ninetales, so you should have immediately switched straight out into Metagross. That is the only thing I would say. Clicking Calm Mind was definitely the wrong play because Ninetales can outdo you, especially with Nasty Plot and Aurora Veil. So yeah, I can't really say much about that. The double into Metagross definitely would have been the play instead of Calm Minding with Sableye, but potentially with the Landorus situation, just clicking Source Dance and then using the Supersonic Sky Strike straight away would have been fine, because even if you haven't got the agility, I think Ninetales gets to switch in there. Ninetales will get to switch in afterwards. That's fine, but you still have Metagross at that point, so you can switch that straight in, and it's fine. And considering you've seen Aurora Veil and Nasty Plot, it has to be Freeze Dry Moonblast, so it won't have anything super effective for Metagross. Has to be Freeze Dry. If it's not Freeze Dry for Rowan Wash, I'd be a little bit surprised. I haven't seen Dan's team builder. But probably Freeze Dry Moonblast, and therefore Metagross walls the Alolan Ninetales and throws out with Bullet Punch, of course. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have bothered with the agility, because in the end the agility did nothing. So Source Dance and then Supersonic Sky Strike kills something, kill Vaporeon. Ninetales would have come in there. You would have got forced into Metagross, but you still would have had a over 50% Landorus at that point, instead of a Landorus which was in range of Mach Punch, which is what happened. But that's it. All I can say from that match, really. It wasn't really that badly played as such. Just a couple of plays that you probably could have, couple of slightly smarter plays you could have had to sort of keep your momentum up anyway. Because even if he predicted a Metagross switch, then you at least would have been in the situation where you had an Aurora Veil and a Nasty Plotting Ninetales setting up in front of you. All your mons wouldn't have been in range of Revenges like Infernape. So a little bit smart, tiny little bit smarter play there, Gyarados, and you could have actually had a much closer duel anyway than it actually ended up being. But we get to move on now. New York Clinks Papacy versus United Kingler's Willow, and this was a 1-0 to Willow. So if you have actually been paying attention to these scores, there was only 2 matches which went in favour of the home team, which is why I said at the beginning I had probably the side with more of the notes, because I was watching the losing side for 8 out of the 10 matches that were played. So yeah, that's why I probably have more of the notes, because one only got to watch the sort of winning side of things. This was a 1-0 though, so I'm guessing there probably were notes. I have to say, for a team, if you told me last generation that a team that consisted of Regirock, Alola Molo, Diggersby, Chattel, Gothitelle, and Torkoal, this is non-Shadow Attack Gothitelle as well, let's be reminded of that. If you told me that team was capable of winning a match, I would have been very, very surprised. Especially when your opponent has Klefki, Mega Alakazam, and a Kyurem and a Zapdos. There's no real reason why Papacy should have lost here, in my opinion, from team matchup, but somehow it happened. What's your counter to Sun, though, is the main question I had. And the answer is none. I did about... Oh, yeah. COLvTBL, I think it was COLvTBL versus GOTHATEL. Papa said I did like 20% with a dart pulse. Dude, you did about 50%. If you know, like, just slow down, pay attention, really, is my probably biggest advice for Papa is just slow down, take a breath. You were post-coming anyway, but slow down, take a breath. I'm guessing if you play live like your post-comp, just slow down, pay attention to the match a little bit more, take it all in, because you did way more with the dart pulse than you thought you did there. But my biggest criticism, and probably the reason why the team that had the matchup, in my opinion, lost, was because you switched in one of your premier mons on a sun boosted Fire Blast. Do not switch in one of your better mons on a sun boosted Fire Blast. This was Pinsir versus Torkoal. You do not switch out in that situation, because at that point GOTHATEL is down. Pinsir is entirely useless at this point, pretty much. Yeah, you might have super effective coverage, you might have a fighting move for coverage against Diggersby. You resist the ground with that, fair enough. You might have something for RegiRock as well, but you're not really doing too much to RegiRock, and you do die to it. You die to Cello, you die to Torkoal, and then fairly soon LALvMAR walls it, which is what happens later on. So, do not sack on, and I know this from experience, do not lose the only thing that one of the only things that takes on a LALvMAR before the LALvMAR goes down. Because what happens at the end is what happens every single time you allow LALvMAR to go unchecked. Because without your Zapdos, there was absolutely no game plan for a LALvMAR. And yeah, a little bit confused, thinking that LALvMAR had the Mirror Coat. It was GOTHATEL. Once again, slow down, pay attention. Yeah, again at the end, with thinking that for some reason the second Dragon Pulse did way more damage than the first Dragon Pulse. No, they both did about 35–40%. So again, just slow down, pay attention. But yeah, I think like you said, you might be 0–5 or something. 0–4. I think you might have the week off. 0–4, but you are only -6 differential. All your losses have been very, very tight losses. I think basically this loss came down to switching in Zapdos for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Pinsir was your sack rather than Zapdos there, because Zapdos actually takes on the LALvMAR and could probably have killed it. And yeah, that's basically that match. So that rounds off the recaps a little bit quicker than usual, just now this time. And just quickly taking a brief note of this week's MVPs. Obviously, Manectric with 5 kills. And Metric had 5 kills, Helios got 3, that's fairly good. One got 4, that's probably doing fairly well at this point. I think it was doing alright at this point in the sort of season so far in terms of total kills. Magnezone got another 3, but that's only got 5 in total now still, I know that much. Metric got 5. Oh, Thunderous got 5, that was it. Thunderous T. I believe Thunderous T is our MVP leader now, because obviously it had 5 kills earlier in the season in one match, and then it's picked up a couple more since, and then it's got another 5 here. So I think Thunderous T is definitely our MVP leader at this point. And next week, hopefully, this will be up earlier. This week was just really unfortunate because, like I said, I had to go home where I could not record or more importantly upload. The internet speed is terrible. If I tried to upload this at home, it would have taken at least 24 hours, and that is not an exaggeration. And then obviously Juan had the family emergency again, so it is what it is, and that's where we are. So next week, hopefully Juan will be back, and we'll be able to get this done a little bit earlier as well. More importantly, in the week, so we should be seeing this a lot earlier. So for now, I've been Amazing Chi. By myself, I was in my brain. I was about to say any additional notes there for Juan, but of course Juan's not here. But that's it for me. I will see you guys again next time. Ta-ra.